Whoa, I thought you were dead.
My death was greatly exaggerated.
It has been quite some time since we've heard anything about the development for Stellaris Console Edition, but that wait has finally come to an end with the release of Dev Diary 55. Largely, this Dev Diary did confirm several of my predictions from the last console update video, but it did also correct some too. I pointed out that Tantalus was no longer involved in the development, and went on to say that Paradox may directly work on the port instead of bringing in a third party. This has been confirmed not to be the case, and a third party is being brought in, or rather was brought in. Apparently all the way back in last spring, Paradox started to prep Behavior Rotterdam to take over development from Tantalus. Behavior Rotterdam, also formerly known as Code Glue, is not the same as Behavior Interactive, which you may be familiar with, but is rather a subsidiary that was acquired by Behavior Interactive last month. This means that Code Glue was working on Stellaris while they were also undergoing an acquisition. This also means that Behavior Rotterdam was not involved in Behavior Interactive's work on Dead by Daylight or their work in Halo, Fallout, Borderlands, R6, or Far Cry. Behavior Rotterdam has, however, worked on some rather well-known titles such as The Escapist 2 and Terraria. The studio has never worked on a grand strategy game, as far as I have found, but it has worked within the strategy genre, albeit several years ago. However, since Paradox has been prepping them for some time, I would withhold any conclusions until we see what the development of Toxoids and First Contact looks like. I also wouldn't hold the long delay for Toxoids as any evidence of a slower development going forwards, as a delay should be expected when they were going through both an acquisition and picking up where another team had been working for years. Moving on to the information on the incoming 3.5 Fornax update, this is coming along with Toxoids as a free update. First off, there is no date in this Dev Diary supplied for the release of Toxoids, but usually the update gets released a little over a month after the first Dev Diary, so if that trend continues, expect Toxoids come early November. This Dev Diary was largely focused on the information on relics, but it also included information on the introduction of cultural jobs and of some content from the Toxoids expansion pack. On screen you can see the starting panel for the Toxic God Prefab Empire within the Console Edition. The two new origins Overtuned and Toxic God are also shown in the Origin section for your Empire build menu. And finally, of course, we have the portrait page for all of the new species that you will get with Toxoids. Now the meat of this Dev Diary is all about the changes coming to relics. Relics are broken into three classes: Crisis, Precursor, and Event Relics. The devs have different goals in mind for each relic class and have changed the bonuses that each has to fit the goals for each class. First up are the Crisis relics, which are supposed to function as a quote victory lap, as once you beat the endgame crisis, they should make taking out the other empires much easier. The extra dimensional warlock you get after beating the Unbidden has had its passive effect of sub-light speed bonus increased from 15% to 30%, and the 20% weapon range bonus stayed the same. Its active effect on jump cooldown and quantum catapult accuracy remained the same, but a 100% bonus to jump drive range was added. The Praetorian Brood Queen that you get from beating the guess this Praetorians had its passive effect of plus 30 society research completely removed, with a vastly better plus 50% society research added. Not plus 50, but plus 50%. Along with this, a plus 5% Praetorian weapon rate was also added, and this increases with each activation. An active effect was added that spawns a quote sizable fleet that includes some carriers. Presumably this will have the exact same composition as the PC version, which has 36 warriors and 54 swarmlings. Finally, the isolated contingency core that you get from beating the contingency has a 100% pop assembly bonus added to its passive effects, while its very strong bonus of allowing 2 of each megastructure rather than 1 remained the same, and it has no active effects. Going forward, I will only be listing what has been added or removed, but the relics will have their full list visible on the screen. Our second class is the Precursor Relics, which are acquired through the Precursor event chains. Javorian Pox had a plus 20 years leader life expectancy bonus added to its passive effects, and had the Orbital Bombardment stance removed. The last Baol relic now grants a planetary decision to turn a world into a Gaia world over the course of 2 years. If activated on a Gaia world, it will give all of the pops the Gaia world preference, which grants a plus 5% resource bonus to resource production on Gaia worlds. The Yut Cryocore had a passive effect that grants an additional starting pop on every new colony added. The Psionic Archive will now grant a negative 50% to the Shroud cooldown, and it will grant you better odds when dealing with the Shroud as a passive effect. The Cybrex Forge is the only relic to only lose bonuses and a very clear nerf. It lost its passive 5% increase to alloy production, and its active effect of spending 10,000 minerals to get 5,000 alloys has also been removed. The last Precursor relic, the Voltom Reality Perforator, had the active effect of adding 1 of 4 random buffs added, and these buffs will last for 12 to 5 years. The last relic types are event relics, and a few have changed. The Blade of the Huntress gained 2 passive effects, plus 25% to army morale, and plus 2 to planetary sensor range. The Omni Codex gained a plus 1 gene modification point as a passive effect, and as an active effect will now give you 3 random pops on a selected planet. The Ether Drake Trophy had a plus 10% happiness bonus added to its active effects. The Surveyor had its active effect nerfed, reducing its 3 to 5 rare resource deposits being added when you activate it to only providing 1 to 3 deposits. The Head of Zarklon had its 40% Spiritualist Ethics attraction removed, and it also added a 150 opinion with Holy Guardians, and will also make it so that you can colonize Holy Worlds without angering Holy Guardians. The Defragmenter will keep its negative 10% job and building upkeep passive effects. And finally, the last relic, the Khan's Throne, will allow you to make a Satrapy Vassal type, granting a naval cap equal to 30% of your vassal's naval cap. Fornax will also bring back cultural workers with their buildings, monuments, and the Ministry of Culture. Culture workers will output 10% government ethics attraction and 4 unity with an upkeep of 3 consumer goods. Additionally, depending on your ethics, cultural workers will also produce other bonuses as listed on your screen now. The bonuses are doubled when the ethic is fanatical, and they also stack with other ethics. Well, that's all the news I have for you today. Remember to hit all of the buttons down below and to leave a comment.